It is 90.3 KEXP, streaming all over the world at kexp.org. My name is Troy Nelson, and I'm very excited because we have some longtime friends in the house today, and I'm talking about Emily and Jimmy of Metric. How are you doing today?
Great, good to see you, Troy.
Yes, very nice to see you. And thank you for taking the time to share your music with the KEXP community. And if you're ready, take it away.
Great, thank you so much. We have started a process lately of doing these what we call dirt road versions of the songs from our 8 albums. It's a very cool process because you end up finding, I feel, the identity of the song outside of whatever, sort of associations you have with the production. In the case of Metric, it's electronic, it's rock, but sometimes there's a whole other kind of soul in the song. So this is a pretty good example of our dirt road style. This is called Dark Saturday. Somewhere in the south of France or the Caribbean Sea, she said, I don't need to make a living. Fake diamonds got nothing on me. I met her in the world below. She's a tourist of the world beneath. I said everything I built from nothing. She said I'm so rich, everything's free. So dark it ain't so dark. So dark it ain't so dark. Forever and never, a torch in search of a flame. To be good, get better. Well, I've been feeling this way forever and never. A night in search of a day, as anxious as ever. It's such a dark, dark, dark Saturday. What's your name and where you from? Well, I'm worth your weight in gold. And while we lie here in the sun, the whole wide world's about to explode. Now our bodies intertwine, and the truth is plain to see. I said everything I built from nothing. She said, don't you blame your problems on me. So dark it ain't so dark. So dark it ain't so dark. Forever and never, a torch in search of a flame. To be good, get better. I change by staying the same forever and never. A night in search of a day, as anxious as ever. It gets so dark, dark, dark. So shine a light my way, shine a light my way. I'm having such a dark, dark, dark Saturday. Shine a light my way. It's such a dark, 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 dark Saturday. Dark, 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 dark Saturday. Dark, 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 dark Saturday. Here's another Dirt Road rendition. This one is kind of inspired by our friends in Iron and Wine. You know, you can picture yourself kind of out in the woods somewhere in nature, getting the vibe. This is from our new album. This is called All Comes Crashing. Starting over won't be easy, broken, divided, split tomorrow from today. Knowing what you know just makes it harder to think straight. Starting over after it breaks. Starting over when the story's got an astounding twist. You better turn that page. When push it comes to shove, we do not fall out of love. We double down, we do not fade. For all I know, this might be my last night, if that's how it goes. There's no one I would rather be lying beside when it all comes crashing. When it all comes crashing. Starting over won't be easy, damage be damned. Please say you love me just as I am. Starting over won't be easy, misunderstand that pattern. Fear is forcing your hand. Knowing what you know just makes it harder to think straight. Starting over after it all breaks. When push it comes to shove, we do not fall out of love. We double down, we do not fade. For all I know, this might be my last night, if that's how it goes. There's no one I would rather be lying beside. If all we knew came crashing down tonight, I'd be with you. And there's no one I would rather be dying beside. When it all comes crashing down. When it all comes crashing down. For all I know, this might be my last night, if that's how it goes. There's no one I would rather be lying beside. If all we knew came crashing down tonight, I'd be with you. And there's no one I would rather be dying beside. When it all comes crashing. 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 Some of us are wild ones, ever underwanted, I believe. Lining up in the background, waiting for the crowd shot to be seen. In the shadow of the big screen, everybody begs to be redeemed. Hey, I'm not synthetica. No, I'll keep the life that I've got. We were never meant to, crawling for the bait we never will. I can think for myself, I've got something no pill could ever kill. Hey, I'm not synthetica. No, I'll keep the life that I've got. Oh, so hard to resist synthetica. Oh, no drug is stronger than me, synthetica. We're all the time confined to fit the mold, but I won't ever let them make a loser of my soul. Hey, I'm not synthetica. No, I'll keep the life that I've got. Oh, I'll keep the life that I've got. I'll keep the life that I've got. I'll keep the life that I've got. A little change up of guitars here. It's really cool to be back in Seattle, especially back at KXP. This room is like timeless. And I've watched so many of the artists that have performed on here and enjoyed always discovering new music through you guys. So it's really cool to be back and be back for a beautiful autumn day in Seattle at the Moore Theater, which I can't believe isn't haunted. I haven't seen a ghost, but if there ever would be one, it would be at the Moore. Here's a song that kind of sums up the aspirations of, I think, so many of us in making the decision to be like, what the hell, I guess I'll just go for it in my life and see where I end up. You can ask yourself who you'd rather be, as though you have the option, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. If you're like me, your answer would be the Velvet Underground. But here's a song from our album Fantasies. This is called Gimme Sympathy. Get hot, get too close to the flame. Wild, open space. Talk like an open book. Sign me up. Got no time to take a picture. I'll remember someday all the chances we took. We're so close to something better left unknown. We're so close to something better left unknown. I can feel it in my bones. Give me sympathy after all of this is gone. Who would you rather be? The Beatles or the Rolling Stones? Oh, seriously, you're gonna make mistakes, yeah, young. Come on, baby, play me something like Here Comes the Sun. Come on, baby, play me something like Here Comes the Sun. stay with the all unknown and stay away from the hugs. All the chances we took, we're so close to something better left unknown. We're so close to something better left unknown. I can feel it in my bones. Give me sympathy after all of this is gone. Who would you rather be, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones? Oh, seriously, you're gonna make mistakes, you're young. Come on, baby, play me something like Here Comes the Sun. Come on, baby, play me something like Here Comes the Sun. Come on, baby, play me something like Here Comes the Sun.
Wonderful. You're listening to Metric live here on KEXP. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, such a pleasure.
Yeah, 20 plus years of Metric now. And all these albums, and you just never make a bad album. How do you do it?
We have an incredible QC team. We just keep sending them stuff, and they keep sending it back. Say it's not good enough.
That's right. We're like harsh editors. The cutting room floor at this point is like thigh high.
Right. You have like 12 albums of scrapped material.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
more.
for sure.
The new album is called Formentera. Am I pronouncing that
You are,
correctly?
yeah.
And can you tell me what the overall theme of this album has in common with the classic movie Brazil?
Nice. I've been waiting this whole album cycle for someone to ask me. Thank you, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if any of your listeners remember that movie, the Terry Gilliam, but it's one of those ones that for me is just a classic kind of hellscape sci-fi absurdist film that just gets better with time. I also think it's a Christmas movie because, you know, for those who remember the plot, it is set at Christmas time. But, you know, the premise in that film is that, you know, the reality of existence has become so kind of unmanageable that our protagonist has created this imaginary place in his mind, and there's that accompanying song that just plays, you know, Brazil. And he sort of drifts away into this version of himself that is, you know, a superhero with really cool wings, metal wings, and his dream woman and his dream life and his true soul. And I found myself at the end of the process of making Formentera and having that song represent what it did, which was just really us doing our version of that, which is creating a sonic oasis in our minds because we were kind of cracking up, truthfully, being 2 years into the pandemic, obviously, and deep winter, and really genuinely afraid of, are we going to see our band again? Like, we couldn't get Josh and Jules across the border, really feeling for people we'd lost, and feeling for really all of music and all the industry and all the people that are affiliated and what was going to happen to everybody. So we were like, all right, we got to make this place. And by the end of the process, we started to discover these through line themes. So doing the artwork, I really leaned into that with the, you know, the font of Formentera and the idea that it is a physical place, but it's become imaginary, much as Brazil. To the, you know, much to the chagrin of Terry Gilliam's marketing team at the time, they're like, did not market that movie well. Brazil is an idea as much as it's a place.
And speaking of that time during like the lockdown portion of the pandemic, you did stay somewhat busy by building a new recording studio. Though I was just curious, are you still calling it Giant, or is it a whole new thing now?
No, it's a whole new thing. Actually, someone else took over Giant, and it's still Giant, which was a very interesting part of the process for us. Early 2020, we set up a little sort of makeshift recording space in Emily's house up in the country, and we were really enjoying making music in there, but the summer had something to do with it. You know, it was a very small space, and as the summer was drawing to a close, and you know the looming giant winter was approaching, we realized that we wanted to stay up there, but we needed a new space to do it. And so we found this amazing converted church that's right down the road from kind of where we both live up there, and we moved our studio up there, and there's like a bunch of bedrooms, and there's a separate apartment, and
Wow.
it's this beautiful space, and it couldn't be more suited to us. It's pretty crazy. For the first time in 20-something years, we have our full metric headquarters with, like, you know, Tupperware bins of laminates from festivals from '08.
Wow.
And, you know,
The archives are deep.
yeah,
That's
the
cool.
archives are pretty wild.
Yeah.
And then there's this other guy named Gus Van Gogh, who is a great producer who was moving from New York to Toronto. He took over Giant, left it as Giant, and then we actually then hired him to be one of the producers on Formentera.
Cool.
So it's like I gave him this studio in my backyard and then made him come up to the country and record up there for months at a time.
It's amazing. I need to see this place.
Well, and
can
you
I
can-
invite myself?
You can.
Okay,
you
thank
can.
you.
But
And
you're
you can
invited.
imagine for me, I'm like, you know, so much faith in my spiritual advisor and musical life partner here. But, you know, I don't know anything about sonics and building what you need to build to make things sound like $1,000,000. And that was a serious act of faith for me to be like, all right, Jimmy, if you're telling me that we're going to set up Jules in the apse, which is where the priest would normally stand, and it's all going to sound good. He's like, just trust me. Brought in this like Swiss acoustician, like one day in, you know, putting in all the panels, doing all the work, and we made the entire album there, which is also unusual because normally we'd work at Giant as well as Electric Lady or East West, and this is a pretty amazing feature of the place too, that it's we're getting the best sounds we've ever gotten out of this place, so it's cool.
Yeah, it's where there's actually like a little bit of a Seattle connection to the inspiration behind that, because years ago we worked at Bear Creek, which is
Ryan Hadlock,
yeah, right near here, and hopefully we actually see Ryan at the show tonight. But
come to the show, Ryan.
that's such a beautiful residential studio, and it's such an interesting experience. It was the only other time we've actually worked in one where you kind of go off into the woods and you all live together, and you know, kind of like really get into the mindset of whatever music you're making. And we hadn't really done that since working.
Oh my! We
at-
wrote "Give Me Sympathy" there. I
at,
just remembered that. That's
at
right.
Bear Creek.
That's right.
So yeah, I don't know, full circle, man.
Love that.
Yeah.
That. And Emily, you were talking about during the pandemic, reminiscing of people that we lost during the pandemic. Can you tell us what Hal Wilner meant to you?
Oh man, it's so for folks who don't know, it's like, you know, there are those sort of fixtures in your life that you. It's not that I ever took Wilner for granted. It's just he's such an essential part of what I came to understand as the purpose of music, and you know, as an extension of that, the purpose of life. Like, you know, New York producer in the conventional sense of albums and everything, but he would put together these concerts, which literally, I mean, the closest reference is the Muppet Show. I mean, an incredible array of people that he would really take pleasure in putting together in a very unusual mashups of different artists. So he's the reason that I met Lou Reed. He's the reason that Lou, you know, sang on our album Synthetica, and we ended up having such a great connection with him. And sadly, Wilner was, you know, we lost him to COVID at the very beginning of the pandemic. So there was recently a really beautiful memorial to him in New York that I performed at with Kevin Drew from Broken Social Scene. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just classic Wilner, where you've got like, oh, hey, Bono, like, you know, just kind of milling around with Beth Orton and
Yeah.
Tom Waits. But it was such a strange feeling because with, you know, you're at this place and it's the essential feeling of what Wilner wanted to create were these experiences, but he's not there. So it was like, even when you're talking to someone you really admire, they're just still not him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know I'm not alone in missing Wilner.
Yeah, sounds like he was very loved, and by an eclectic mix of very creative people as well. Lastly, I want to, Emily, once again, I want to thank, well, I was going to thank you, but actually I have to thank your brother, because I had no idea that Rod Stewart completely lifted that melody from that George Ben song for the song Do You Think I'm Sexy? And I saw you on an episode of What's in My Bag talking about George Ben and how much Rod Stewart just totally lifted that song.
Yeah, well, this is great. I'm glad that you're my brother, he has a vintage record store. I mean, it's just a record store. He carries everything, but he's, if you'll indulge a moment on Tim Haynes, but it's so fascinating to me in these sort of like uplifting stories that we all kind of need of like, perseverance and resilience, like the big kind of metric themes that we try to put out in the world. So he's had that story, I mean, it's 30 years. And when he at first had vinyl, record store, whatever, 80s, early 90s, people are like, oh, cool, weird, quirky, right? And then CDs, the whole world was like, you're over, man, it's done. Like, you'll never have, and he's like, no, I'll just stock CDs, that's fine. And then streaming, it was like, okay, for sure, you're going under. And he just refused. And now he's like moved into a bigger space, and he's actually shocked and appalled at how expensive vinyl is now. He's like outraged, but it's a really cool thing to see that someone like him who has that kind of knowledge, deepest knowledge of so much international music. And so yes, now we can all, I love Rod Stewart, but
Yeah.
you got to call that out.
Oh, yeah. And they even played a clip of it, of the original song, and then the Rod Stewart. I was like, it's the same melody.
I feel like there was more to the story too, though, where I think that they paid him. I think there was something, I don't know that there's like misconduct involved. I
Right.
think there was an arrangement made, and just that we all are getting an education on George Ben.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I was introduced to his music thanks to your brother in that segment. So that must
I'll
be
let him
nice,
know.
having a brother with that depth of knowledge.
Oh,
you
it's
know.
cool and really annoying.
Yeah, like brothers are.
Yes.
Exactly. Once again, thank you so much, Jimmy and Emily of Metric. We always appreciate having you here. Doors always open, so please come back and share more of your music with us.
Awesome.
in
Thank
the
you
years.
so
Thanks,
much.
Troy.
Absolutely. That was Metric, live here on 90.3 KEXP Seattle.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.